The Order 1886 is how long?
What the fuck?
G'day guys and welcome back to Aussie Gamer. Now seriously though guys, the Order is super short and I've heard reports that it's anywhere between 3 to 13 hours long. Now these are just rumours, at least that's what I initially thought, until I saw a YouTuber basically confirm this by playing the whole video game from start to finish in just 5 hours. Now on top of that, half the game was actually unskippable cutscenes. Now if you want to go and check out that video, I will try and put a link in the description down below. I just need to make sure that legally I can actually go and do that, so if I can, I definitely will. Alright, so the question at this point is this game actually worth the full retail price of $60 in the US? Or here in Australia, it's actually up to $129, and that's obviously for the collector's edition. So, is it a case of so-called quality over quantity, and can you justify purchasing this game at this price? So what I want to do in this video is actually attempt to answer that question. You know, is this game worth it at full retail price? Is it a case of quality over quantity, and can I justify recommending you go and buy this game at full price? So to help me do that, what I'm actually going to do is just run through the pros and cons and try and rationally evaluate if it's actually worth it. Alright, so let's have a look at some of the pros for the Order 1886 as I see them. So alright, so number one, the game looks pretty. Now I think there is no denying that this game is a good looking game. I'm pretty sure that both PlayStation and Xbox fans would pretty much agree on that as well. Alright, so number two, the story looks pretty fresh and interesting, which is kind of cool. And I guess I am interested in the world or the environment that the game exists. Alright, so number three, the gameplay is supposed to be pretty similar to Gears of War. And looking at the gameplay, you can kind of see some crossover between Gears of War. The game is clearly a cover-based shooter style, and you can definitely see that coming through. Alright, so that's kind of my list of pros for the game, as well as it introduces a few new characters, some characters we haven't necessarily seen in the gaming world, and I think more franchises are definitely a plus, because we don't want to see just the same old, you know, half a dozen IPs consistently rolled out year on year. Alright, so they were the pros, and let's go and have a look at some of the cons, because this is obviously where the game falls a little bit down. Alright, so number one, and this is the big one, it's short. I think there's no denying that it's short. So let's take the best case scenario and assume it's somewhere in the middle of that 3 to 13 hour mark. Let's be generous and give it, say, 8 hours. What concerns me most is that up to half of that estimate is all set to be cutscenes. And that concerns me, you know, because those cutscenes, in my mind, really mean the game isn't replayable. Because you can't skip those cutscenes in a future playthrough, you're essentially watching the same thing over and over again, which is a little bit disappointing. Alright, number two, there's no co-op. Now this is sometimes neither here nor there, depending on the type of player you are, but it is always good to be able to play through a game by yourself and then go back and do it again with a buddy. I think that's pretty damn cool. That definitely was the case with Gears of War, and I must admit I had some of my most memorable gaming moments playing through co-op games in Gears of War that I think gamers playing the Order 1886 just won't experience. Number three, again another big one, there is no multiplayer in the Order, which is bloody disappointing because I think it's a game that would have lent itself so well to having multiplayer in it. Alright, so number four is those black bars at the top and the bottom. Now seriously, what the hell is up with that? I'm not buying into the whole it's for cinematic effect bullshit. If I have the opportunity to play a game, I want to see it in all its glory, and the whole black bars thing, it just doesn't make sense from my point of view. I've seen it, I've seen what it looks like, I get what they're trying to say or trying to convince me of, but in all reality, it just doesn't do it for me. Alright, so number five, I must admit that I doubt that this game will have much replayability value, particularly if you've already sat through 2 to 3 hours of unskippable cutscenes. So there you go, there's kind of the pros and cons. Now as you can see, in my mind there's just a couple more cons at this point in time than pros. Now what annoys a lot of gamers, including myself, is that so many publishers are putting out all of these false expectations about games these days, and they often then end up falling over or failing to deliver against those expectations. In the case of the Order 1886, I think what the publishers should have actually done was come out and tell us that they were going to make a cinematic movie with some gameplay elements. I think they should have actually gone and been a little bit more transparent up front about things like the size of the world and playthrough time and, you know, how long is it going to take for me to actually finish this game? Is it linear? Do I have some side options? Are there multiple paths? That sort of thing. And all of that has been surprisingly lacking in the communication from the devs regarding the Order 1886. Now, there's also a couple of other things that concern me about this game in particular. So first is the dreaded embargo. So whenever I hear the words embargo, I really get concerned that a game will not live up to expectation. So this game will essentially be under embargo until the 12th hour, making it very hard for consumers like you and me to evaluate whether we should actually go and pick this game up or not. So my advice to you is whenever you hear the words embargo, run for the hills. So I think all it really does is allow developers and publishers to hide behind the fact that they may not necessarily have a super high quality game. Now the other thing that concerns me a little bit is DLC. Now I haven't actually heard anything specifically about DLC for this game yet, but I do want to know, are we essentially paying for a portion of the game with the rest of the game coming later in the form of DLC? Now that really does concern me, and I guess only time will tell on that one. Alright guys, so to give you my final verdict on this game, and keep in mind I have not yet played it, so my thoughts and comments are based entirely on other people's playthroughs or comments that I have seen on places like Reddit and YouTube. So at this point in time, I must admit I can't recommend anybody pre-order this game with so much uncertainty surrounding it. So I think instead, I would actually recommend that you wait for a few more reviews and gameplays to actually evaluate it for yourself. I know that's definitely what I'll be doing. In fact, even if the reviews come back pretty positive, I'm probably going to wait for a discount before I go and pick this game up. Alright guys, so there you go. If you've liked today's video, please remember to hit that like button for me. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And as always guys, get involved in the conversation via the comments section down below. Alright guys, I will see you all in the next video.
Ready? Guess we'll find out.